Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and while you're at it, click the bell to be notified of future videos. Today's block is something a little bit different. It's a curved block called Drunkard's Path. It's a very old classic quilt unit, I'll call it. It's not really a block. It could be a block, but I call it a unit. This block is finished 16 inches. Here is a picture of the block we're going to do. This is a 4x4 grid, and that means if it's 16 inches, each unit in this grid finishes at 4 inches. The fabrics are just a light and a dark fabric. Here are 4 blocks set block to block, and it gives a nice secondary design, and it also gives a nice border too. For this demo, I'm going to use the Drunkard's Path template set from Marty Michelle. It cuts 3-inch, 3.5-inch, and 4-inch finished Drunkard's Path units. Now there are many other templates out there you can find, and I'll talk about templates in just a minute. These are the only ones I've used, and I'll tell you why I like them. And there are also templates for AccuQuilt. They have 3 different sizes that will cut both the pie shape and the L shape units. So each Drunkard's Path consists of a pie shape and an L shape, and either shape can be light or dark. So here is a light pie and a dark L, and then here is the opposite. So these are what they can look like. You want a good contrast in light and dark. In this block, as I said, each unit is 4-inch finished. And the reason I'm making the 4-inch finished is it's easier to learn to piece curve piecing on a bigger unit. If you do the 3-inch unit, it's going to be very difficult for you to learn, and I want you to be successful. For this block, you will need 8 patches of the dark pie, 8 patches of the light pie, and 8 patches of the dark L, 8 patches of the light L. The templates I'm using, the Marty Michelle templates, we're going to cut strips. For the pie shape, we cut the strip, and then we use the template to cut the required number of pie shape we need. For the L shape, we're first going to cut squares. Then we'll use one of the templates in the set to cut out this little pie shape. Here are the 2 units you will make, and you'll make 8 of each of these units. First, let me show you. These are the units I've cut. We have 8 dark L's and 8 light L's. Here's what they look like. And this is a square. We cut the square first, and then we use the template to cut out the little pie shape. Now this pie shape you cut here is not this pie shape. This is a smaller pie than this. Here are your pie shapes for your light and dark, and we have 8 of each. This is the top row of the block pictured. I've finished the top row. Just wanted to show you what it looks like. And here is the Marty Michelle template book, and I wanted to show you what different shapes you can get from this one unit. So here's one. This is the most popular. This is what they call the Drunkard's Path, and there are more pictures here, but I just wanted to show you some of the different ones. Here are some different ones, and she shows you how these are laid out and where to place the light and dark pies and L's. This is a very pretty block here. This is the one we're working on, and it shows you how to put those together. There's a different one here, and these 4. This is one of my favorites. It's called Devil's Puzzle, but my friend Ramona calls it Angel Puzzle. And you can also make circles like this, and then these little fan-shaped units and flower kind of units from these. And then here's yet more that you can make. You just have almost endless possibilities of what you can do with this one little unit. These are the templates that come in the Marty Michelle set. I have not taken the paper off the back because I think it keeps the template from slipping on the fabric. So you can leave it on or take it off however you like. For the A and B templates, these are used for the 3-inch finished. The B and C units are used for the 3.5-inch finished, and the C and D units are used for the 4-inch finished. We're going to use the C and D units because we want our 4-inch finished. If you look at the templates, here C it shows the L shape on here. So we're going to use this to cut the L shape, and this tells you it's 4-inch finished. This is the pie shape, so this is used for the pie shape of the 4-inch unit. Other template sets you get will have a template that looks like this. The shape is this, so your rotary cutter is going along the inside curve, and that can be a little bit difficult. It helps if you use one of those really small, I think the 28mm rotary cutters. What these do, we take a 4.5-inch cut square, then we use this C template because this is the L shape. We know we need to cut the L shape with this template, and we place it in the corner like this. So line it up on the 4.5-inch square. Then we cut along the outside edge, which is easier to cut than the inside edge if this were a template. And I found that if you kind of move your body as you go, it helps. So just hug up against that template and then just cut like that. There's your L shape. So this you can use for something else. It will not work here because this is the template for the pie shape, and it's not the same size. Now this is the L shape, and for the pie shape we cut 3.5-inch strips, and we're going to cut the pie shapes. This shows you that this is the pie shape. We'll place it on the corner, and just again you're going to hug the template with your rotary cutter, and I just find myself moving from left to right as I cut. There's the shape, so that's the pie shape that will go with this one. These shapes I have cut out are for the 3-inch block. After I started the 3-inch block, I decided it was too difficult for beginners to stitch this size. This is a much easier size to stitch. And I have a new strip here. But after you cut the first pie shape and you cut like this, the instructions say to flip the template around and cut it like this. And it's a lot of flipping back and forth of the template and the fabric. So if you have one of these rotating cutting mats, it would work a lot better. And I'll show you how it works. We'll start on this end with the straight edge. So if we cut another one like this, pull this away, there's our second one. I flip this around, place my template on here, and make my second cut. And I also need to cut this side, so I'll have to flip it around again. It's a lot of flipping and cutting, and you just continue cutting all of your pieces from your 3.5-inch strip. Now it's time to get to the piecing. We have to take this piece and sew it onto this piece, and we see that we have a lot of space here to do this. The only tool I like to use for this is my little pointer I use for all my videos. This is actually called That Purple Thang, T-H-A-N-G. And what I like about it is it's made for curved piecing and applique. And there's what it looks like. It's got a pointy end. It's plastic, so it's bendable like this. This end, that's 1/4 inch measuring. And this little slot is supposed to be, you put a ribbon in there or something and you can put it around your neck or hang it somewhere. But I've never done that. I just lose a bunch of them though. So they're maybe about $3 now. But it's well worth it, and I have one near every machine I've ever owned or in every little area that I work in. If you have a stiletto, that'll work well too. It doesn't give you the flexibility that I like, but it works just the same. And also I use a glue pen, and this is a glue pen. It's the glue inside retracts like this, and it's 1/4 inch, so it goes right in the seam line really well. The first thing you do is fold these in half and find the center. I just finger press it and find the little crease, then take my pencil and mark the center line with my pencil. Do the same thing with the L patch. Finger crease it and then mark it with the pencil. or however you like to mark. That's what you do. If you look at these pieces, this is curved out and this is curved in. If you're a math nerd like I am, this is concave because it caves in. This is convex. It's a convex curve and a concave curve. But that doesn't matter at all. This I call a frown because it looks like a frown. This is a smile. For any curved piecing, you put the frown down. So it rhymes. Put the frown down. This means this is going to go against your feed dogs, and this will be at the top. We'll match these two markings, and so I've got them matched. The edges here match right at the marking. Then I hold my finger there, pull this up, take this glue, and then put some glue right in the seam allowance, right where the marking is. And then push it and hold it just for about 3 seconds. And it holds, so it's not coming off. Okay? Next, we're going to go to this side. When we put this in the machine, we'll start on this end and go to this end. This is our end point here. Here's my frown, the end of my frown. So I rotate this top piece, and I want to match these, the top and the side, this and that. So normally I'd just do this at the machine. Another thing you want to look at, you have to match this top edge and this side edge. And not just the 1/4 of an inch here. You want to match the entire line going down, because I'll show you what happens when you don't. And it'll be in just a minute. So you line up the top and you line up the side all the way down here. If you want to, you can put a pin here so that won't move out of the way. And then flip this back. See, I got it out of the way. Flip this back and put your glue right there in that seam allowance. That seam allowance right there. Flip it down, hold it for 3 seconds, and then it's stuck. But I need to fix that. It moved over just a little. That little bit you think is insignificant, but it really does make a difference. So let me move it over. While it's still glued, it's not moving over too well. Okay, and I'm going to leave this pin in it. Now we go to the other side, the beginning part, and we're going to do the same thing. This is the first part that's going into the machine. And I'm lining it up, the top and then the side. Make sure it's lined up. And then I'm going to put my pin in here so it won't move when I'm gluing it. It does. Okay. I'm just going to put the glue on it. And then move this over and glue it in place. Okay. So this, and you might have to adjust it, just make sure that this is straight, because I'm telling you, it makes a big difference. And after you've done a few of these and you're not filming yourself close up, it becomes a lot easier to do. Now we're going to take this to the machine, and hopefully you'll see how I stitch this. Now I'll start on the left-hand side and take a few stitches and end with your needle down. This is where I glued the center. And I want to have the frown be flat against the bed of this machine. So I'm putting my finger here where the glue is, and I'm just kind of moving it over to the left and down a little bit. I'm not stretching it. Now we have to concentrate on these edges. So I lift this up and match these edges. Then I'm going to hold it down with my purple fang. Then look at this here, and we need to make sure that when everything under the needle has to be perfectly flat. It doesn't matter if it's gathered over here, but right here it has to be flat, and the edges have to be even. So I'm going to take a few stitches stop with my needle down. Then I have another little space here before the center, and move this over and match those edges. Move this, pivot this fabric here to make sure everything is flat here. And then stitch all the way to the center. Okay. Now stop with your needle down. And on this side, we're going to make sure that the frown is flat again. So I'm pushing all this upper stuff out of the way. Hold this down and push it down into the left so that it's flat. You see the brown is flat. Lift this up, match the side, the edges, and flatten this out. And you see, all I care about is from the needle to here right now. Make sure all that is flat. Stop with your needle down. Now you have this little bit here. Move this over. Match the edges, hold it down, and then pivot this around. And this is where, towards this end, it gets a little bit more difficult. So what I'm going to do is take this, the curved edge part of this, you see it's curved, and place it down. And right in front of that needle, I'm making it smooth. Keep this even, make this smooth. And make this smooth. And then stitch off. Now let's look what we have here. So now you just check to make sure you have no puckers. You want this edge here to be nice and straight. That's really not a pucker, it was creased, so it's not a pucker. And you can check. Once we press it, you'll see. And here it's nice and straight on this edge as well. When I was showing you how I glue these pieces together before I sew them, and I said to be sure that this piece lined up exactly along this edge. Even though we were just sewing here, we wanted all the way down to be lined up. Now I have this on this green piece of fabric so you can see what I'm talking about in just a second. This should measure 4.5 inches because when I cut the L shape, I cut it from a 4.5 inch square. Well, I know this side is going to be 4.5 and this side is going to be 4.5, but this side and this side have been changed because we sewed this piece onto it. So I'm going to take this ruler and lay out on the 4.5 inch mark here and here, so along the two sides of the L piece. I'm going to zoom way in so you can see. So if you see here, this is 4.5 inches on here and all the way down, and then across here it's 4.5 inches all the way across, and on this side it's pretty close. I can't complain about that. It's pretty close, but look at this. You see right here, here is my 1/4 inch mark, and this edge of the ruler should be 4.5 inches, but look where the light color fabric falls on this. It's a good 1/8 of an inch shorter. So what caused this and how can we fix it without ripping the whole thing out. Let's look at the seam that we did here. I'm going to press this flat so we can see it better. It's hard to see this. I pressed it. Since it's on a curve, it doesn't really want to lay flat. So I'm just showing you this part here that wants to lay flat. This is the part that I put into the machine first. And as you can see, these two pieces did not line up. This edge should be on top of this edge and matched right there. That's why it's important to make sure that part is even. These two fabrics are even on this edge. How do we fix this without ripping out and redoing? Every time you rip out something, it just weakens the fabric and it makes it even harder to get the seam allowance right. So I'm going to put this back on here and show you. Here's a 1/4 inch mark, and then just only 1/8 of an inch away is the edge of the fabric. But if you see, this is nice and even because we cut that, so we know that that's the correct size here. If I went ahead and stitched this and just put my seam line right over this line, I'm happy that this is enough fabric here that the seam won't rip out. Once you put the seam in, maybe make your stitch length smaller, and then once it's pressed and then quilted, there's probably no chance at all that this seam is going to come out because it's only 1/8 of an inch here and it's not 1/4 of an inch through the whole thing. What I do to try to fix this, I'm going to take, this is just another 4.5 inch piece of fabric, and we're going to stitch them together along this line. Fold it over and line up all the other sides. Line up this side, and this side, and you see they line up pretty close. So we're back to our little piece here where the green is sticking out. So I would leave it just like this. If you have to, mark 1/4 of an inch or just use your 1/4 inch foot and stitch 1/4 of an inch. Here it is stitched. And on the back you can see it's 1/4 of an inch. If I open this up and press it, I'm very happy that this amount of fabric is there and I'm not going to worry about it, and I'm going to move ahead with this piece. If I lay this out here, it's the right size and all the edges line up and it lays nice and flat. That's how I fix some of these mistakes. I wanted to show you the block finished. This fabric collection is part of Ruby Star Society from Moda. The collection name is Rain by Rashida Coleman. It's beautiful fabric, and I just wanted to show you another close-up of it. It's really pretty. Now, I'm going to issue you a challenge. If you've never done curve piecing before, or if you just want to hone up on your skills, I challenge you to do 8 units. So that would be half of this block. Do 8 pieces and lay out your units from 1 to 8. And look at your number 1 and then look at your number 8. And I guarantee you, it will vastly improve from 1 to 8. And just the more you do them, the more confident you'll get and the prettier they look. Because you're really missing out if you don't like doing curved piecing. So I'm challenging you to try it. If you don't have any templates or you don't have an AccuQuilt, I have a link in the description where you can go to a website and download some paper templates. So you can use the paper templates to draw your pieces and cut them out and then sew them the same way. Here is the block. Thank you so much for watching and good luck with your curve piecing. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and while you're at it, click the bell to be notified of future videos.